Hey everybody, Robert from Meis Morphs here. Uh, this topic is going to be pretty much one of rite of passage. Uh, Anybody that's ever kept snakes, whether for a lifetime's worth or just getting into it, this is a rite of passage that you're going to end up going through. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You will actually get bit by one of your snakes. And it can happen in a variety of ways. One is with newborns and hatchlings, they will be slightly more defensive. So they will nip at you a little bit. Now, mind you, tiny little teeth ain't going to feel like much, and you'll probably get a little bit of blood, but it's not going to hurt as much as, say, like a full grown one. Another way you can accidentally get bit is not by observing body language or anything. If you see them curving up their heads and everything into that patterned S strike and their bodies seem a little stiff, yeah, that's a clear indication that they're going to bite. Especially if you're moving too quickly or too closely to them, because it might take your movement as like a sign of food. And that's another thing that can get you bit. If you've handled any of their food, be it frozen thawed or live or pre-killed and everything, if you got the scent anywhere on your hands and you haven't cleaned them with like a soapy hot water and soap or with hand sanitizer, you're more than likely going to catch a bit of a nip as a feeding response or confusion. I have been bit during a frozen thawed feeding to one of the boas, and that happened. That got me my first bite. My first bite came from the boas, and it only happened because my alignment with the food and the hemostat that I was holding it with was in line with the striking distance with one of the boas, and because I was filming it at the same time, I think either the light or the misalignment of the strike caused it to happen, and one of the boas clearly missed the food and ended up hitting the inside of this finger here with just a few teeth. And yeah, that one got me to bleed a little bit, but changed my tactic and held a little bit off to the side where they could see the food and they were able to grab it. It takes actually a lot of work to deal with defensive snakes, especially if they're nippy, like this one here. This female, number 3 from Clutch 1, has always been snappy. It comes and it goes. It really depends on her mood, whether she's hungry or if she's going to shed or not. But I'm quite certain she'll warm up a little bit because she's now doing some quick tongue flick, well, some long extended tongue flicking. I've only been doing this for maybe about 5 years, and I've only been documenting everything from feedings and stuff like that and the whole breeding process for maybe about a little over half a year now since I started really working on the YouTube channel. But in that entire time, I've only been bitten twice. My wife has been bitten once, and that wasn't a full-on bite. That was an accidental feeding strike from one of our older male ball pythons that we used to have a while back, and she got nipped through the grating of one of those glass tubs that we had a while back when we were initially started off. But yeah, if you mind body language, keep your hands clean and free from any sense of any of the food or anything else fuzzy, and just pay attention to how you're holding things. You can easily avoid getting bit. Hold up 1 minute. I'm going to put her away. There we go. And she goes. Another thing that you can also avoid getting bit on is always have confidence with your snakes. Most people think that that if you're not confident enough, like reaching out to them, that they'll see it as like a passive aggressive thing, and they might get defensive and strike. You gotta be really careful with that when you're dealing with larger snakes, especially if you're getting them out of their cages or enclosures, because one false move and one badly interpreted action could lead you to getting either struck pretty damn good. Also, some of the most common parts of you that will eventually get bit when handling snakes, whether you're doing things proper or improper or just by mistake. First and foremost, it's going to be your hands, your fingers, meaty parts of your thumb, meaty part of your palm. Those ones will always be the quickest hit, especially by babies. Sometimes you'll end up getting nabbed on the arm. I've seen this happen to a lot of the professionals. If being on YouTube, you've probably seen some of the stuff from Jay's Prehistoric Reptiles, and I think maybe a couple times with Brian Barczyk. Yeah, those guys have gotten nailed in the arms pretty good. And also another spot, which is the spot you really need to be very careful with, is all this, your face, your head. Particularly eyes, nose, and lips. And again, I mentioned Jay's Prehistoric Reptiles because every time I've seen any of his videos where he's like trying to pull a female snake off her giant clutch of eggs, those motherly instincts kick in, and it literally just snakes flying right towards his face. And he's been tagged a couple of times. He's been upfront about that. It's not something that he intends to do on purpose for shock value or anything. It's just the fact that, one, he does have to deal with a snake that is protecting her eggs, and trying to move said snake off those eggs that way he can go incubate them is a monumental task in itself. It's easy for smaller snakes to deal with that, but when you start getting up to the snakes that big, yeah, you're going to need a couple spotters, you're going to need a couple hooks, you're going to need gloves. I'm surprised at this point that guy hasn't used face shields to protect himself from getting bit in the face, because that has happened to that dude a lot. But basically, yeah, just pay attention to what you're doing, be mindful of what you're doing around them, and you can easily prevent getting bit. But like I said, having snakes, it's only a matter of if. It's only not so much a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It is going to happen. Accept it. Laugh it off. Move on. You've earned your rite of passage. The only thing I can actually say about something else on the reptile subjects, specifically on snakes, for those that keep venomous snakes and reptiles, the same thing applies. But because you're dealing with venomous snakes, one, keep 911 on speed dial, especially animal control, and make sure that any of the hospitals you go to has the appropriate anti-venom on hand to deal with your snake bite, especially if it's not a dry bite and it's a full-on envenomation. The hospital will need the exact information to, as far as like what snake, whether it's got hemotoxic or neurotoxic venom and stuff like that, and they will need to make sure that they can get the appropriate type of anti-venom you need, because you're going to need a lot of it later on. just to make sure you don't lose fingers, hands, limbs, or worse, even your life. So, just my just take that into consideration. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope this has been like slightly enlightening and slightly informative, because this is something that we as reptile keepers have to deal with. All right, this is Robert from Meis Morphs signing off.